Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. We're back after 3 weeks stream and every planned stream getting cancelled due to the games getting called off and business commitments. We're finally back and joined. I've got Basil with me. How are you, Basil?
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Dave. So I'm pleased to get back on, and we're going to be talking about over the next 25 minutes or so. I don't even think it'll be that long, to be honest. We're going to look ahead to Brighton and also touch on the signing that Everton have made today, which has obviously been done and dusted for quite a few weeks now. Mykolenko, who's joining on a £17 million deal from Dynamo Chicken Kiev over in the Ukraine League. First reaction on that, David. For me, I think it's a huge risk to bring in a player from this league and to sell Luka Dean, which seems to be the plan. But at the same time, a young, promising international footballer. So let's get your reaction. What do you think?
This is really difficult one to predict because it can go either one of two ways. He comes in and he's just not up to the cut, and he's used to playing in the Ukrainian league, and it takes time for him to bed in, and Dean's gets sold, which would be the disaster. Or it looks a masterstroke. We use the money to fund two fullbacks, which we would then desperately need, and they both turn out to be good players. But what's likely to be the outcome here? I mean, in good circumstances, I would like Dean to stay, and what's his name?
Mykolenko.
I was thinking Mykolenko kind of learns from him. Like Dean came in and worked under Baines for at least sort of half a season, and I think that swiftly made the transition much swifter.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on the Mykolenko situation are quite clear. I mean, you've got to have two players for every position, and that means for me, you have to keep Luka Dean. I don't see why you have to have one player and then have a right-sided centre-back covering if there's an injury. I think that's utterly ridiculous. I know we can't really afford to have expensive players on the bench, for example, because we haven't got Europe and we're struggling financially, but it's a small club mentality to have a one-in, one-out situation. On the individual, I think it's good to sign a player of his age. If we paid 17 million for him, which is the reported fee, then we get 20 million for Luka Dean. If we're lucky, then we've not really seen much benefit really there. And I think we got the risk of, is Mykolenko going to come from the Ukrainian league and set the world alight in the Prem? I'm sure there is a plan behind this, but I highly doubt he's going to come in and hit the ground running straight away as first choice left back. There will be a period of adaptation for him. So I think the risk is there with that.
The question is this one forced out of toxic relationships within the camp, or is this something that would have happened anyway? And it for me, it looks like this has only added to other issues with our squad that we needed to address. That the relationship between Benitez and Dean has created another problem to address. And at least, they've got it sorted out. They've got him in on the first day of the window. And it looks for 17 million like Dean will be sold, because we just don't have the cash flow to do that at the moment.
Yeah, Dave, I do think you talk a lot of sense. I mean, the things I've been told about the player, and he's a 22-year-old left back, can also play in different positions. Apparently, you hear that all the time. 5'11", so he's the same stature as Luka Dean. And what I was concerned about was someone who said they'd watched him in the Champions League games, said he's very much out of his depth against the Champions League opposition. But in fairness, most of the Dynamo Chicken Kiev team were out of their depth, out of their depth in the Champions League. So I am worried about that. And apparently he wasn't that good in the international games. So that's just what someone told me who'd said they'd seen him in the Champions League and in the internationals. But you've got to trust what Rafa Benitez says, haven't you, David? And hope that this is a player who can come in, hit the ground running at a good age with potential to improve and grow at Everton. The other concern, though, for me is that he doesn't speak a word of English and he's coming into a poor defence, speaking no English from a foreign league, and replacing Everton's, a France left back, international left back, who's the Everton vice captain. So the risk is there, and with that, but Everton had to make moves, didn't they? They couldn't sit and do nothing. At the same time, I know we're talking a lot of different points here. Um, he wasn't a priority position for me coming into sort of the end of November. I'd have said that the right back situation was more pressing, and probably central defence, where we still got Michael Keane and Holgate in there as options, and they're both weak as piss, and the midfield doesn't have the legs still. So I wouldn't have put left back as a priority, but at the same time, Hi Dave, he's coming in, he's saying Luca Dean's been at below average for 18 months. So was it more of a pressing need? Do you think we needed to sign a left back, or do you think this was just something something that Rafa's chosen to do based on his relationship with Luca Dean?
Well, it's something I touched on earlier. I think it's purely the relationship thing. But I mean, if you analyze just Luca Dean's form independently, you could say that he has been poor, especially for the last 12 months. I don't know if I would go as far as 18 months, because he did rack up about 6 assists in the first half of last season. Maybe defensively he wasn't up to scratch on a consistent basis, which would be something we would hope to address. But as you've said, there's so many imbalances in the squad. To
Yeah.
unnerve, it's like taking one of your main teeth out. It's like, it's a new problem, but it could either backfire, or
I
it
really would like to see us keep Luca Dean. I just think if we've got any ambition of being a club that's going to be successful, then you've got to have options. Now, the Mykolenko guy might have a good few games, but he's going to have an adaptation. There's going to be a period of adaptation. I can't get that word out. And so I think you've got to have Luca Dean there. I don't think you can just do a swap, can you? Surely, David?
No, but he'll just say we've got Ben Godfrey and other players who can play in that position, which isn't really right. But from what I've seen of the guy, I don't want to knock him down too much. He's 22 years old. He looks a physical player for his height. He looks aggressive, and he looks like he wants to be here and he wants to play football. And I've saw clips of him putting some crosses in on the money in different places, and he can finish. But obviously, the clips are clips, and they're clipped from hundreds of games. So, can he replicate that kind of skill that he obviously has, and that aggression on a consistent basis?
I didn't like his. I play FIFA a little bit. I didn't like his statistic. He's got a 57 out of 100 rating for dribbling on FIFA. I mean, I don't know whether that's just ignorance, but they're normally quite good.
I don't see him as a
Watching the
dribbler.
games. I really do think we need to be switching over. I want to see a switch to a 4-3-3 and have fullbacks that really provide the width and allow your two strikers who play on the wide, Damari Gray and Richarlison for me. I like to see those two tuck in a little bit more, Calvert-Lewin through the middle, have three strikers and get the width from fullback. And I think we haven't had the fullbacks to do that. Would you think Mykolenko will provide that real up and down dynamism and the width to be able to
It's really hard. It's really
supply that?
hard to say, isn't it? I mean, the fact that he can play left centre back tells me that he's more of a defensive minded player. And from what I've seen of him, he looks like a solid player, but I don't see him being someone who's marauding forward. Apparently, he's got a bit of pace about him. I think the intention with this strategy is that we play wide players wide, and we don't invert them. This isn't the Carlo Ancelotti of an overlapping fullback providing the cross. This is Damari Gray or Townsend providing the cross, with the fullback being aggressive behind on the pressure and providing help. So it's a different sort of tactic, requires a different fullback, and we know Coleman can't do the sort of overlapping role anymore.
I really hope this isn't going to be an expensive flop from an unproven league for a player who can't speak any English and hasn't looked that good in Champions League games or international games, and is coming in to replace Everton's left back, vice captain, and France international footballer. So that's the negative side. But on the positive side, you're getting a young player with the experience, already 132 senior games he's played. So that's a lot for a 22-year-old, and hoping he comes here mature, confident, with a good attitude, a good mentality, and can do his talking on a football pitch. So that's exciting. Now, we'll come back to Mykolenko, I'm sure, at some point. We don't know whether he's going to be involved tomorrow. We don't know what the situation is.
He's not.
How do you not know he's been in Liverpool for a couple of weeks?
I think he might have been, but the rules stipulate, the Premier League rules are that no player signed up to the first game week of 1st to 3rd of Jan can be involved.
Okay, thanks, David, for that excellent nugget of information. Fab. Dave Weston says he looks decent on YouTube, but so did George Weir's nephew. That's Nunes brought. Good point. I've also got a couple of comments coming in that aren't relevant to that, so I'll move on to them before we talk about Brighton. Kenny, Happy New Year. Kenny says, been away a while, so have us, Kenny. We haven't streamed for 3 weeks. Where's the money come from? And yes or no to the Barkley return? I think there was money there of some description. Obviously, we got rid of James. Sigurdsson's left the club.
It's
Um,
it's also a spread payment over like 4 years, as far as I'm
yeah,
aware.
it's
With
£5
and
a
it's
month
with
for the next
it's
48 months.
it's with add-ons as well, so it's 17 million, but it's probably only 12 million with, and then it'll be proportion like 3 million a year. So
It'll be one of those deals where the players wanted to go for a fresh challenge. He's had 5 seasons at Dynamo. You can't resist coming to the English Premier League. He's going to get paid more money. So yeah. So I think he's probably pushed the deal. Everton have got it on a reasonable price. David's probably right there. 12 million plus add-ons, 7 million add-ons, I'd imagine. And so that's spread over the life of his contract, 4.5 years. It's a couple of million a season. It's the way to go. And I think we're coming, the damage Everton did with the financial fair play was in 2017-18. We're coming away from that now. We're in 2022. So I think your losses are over a 3-year period. So I think there is opportunity for Moshiri to piss some more money away now on Rafa Benitez's signings. On Ross Barkley, I think he is better than some of the other options we've got. I'd certainly have him over Tom Davis. I think he's a good box-to-box player. If you'd strip the emotion out of it, I think, and he comes on a very, very subsidised deal, I'd say yes, I think he could offer something. He wasn't great at Villa. It stinks of Rafa Benitez. It stinks of who is available and who can we get on the cheap. I don't know. I think fans won't tolerate a return for Barkley, to be honest. But he was a good player for us.
The signings that he brings in this window will not be perfection, that's for sure. I mean, he said it in his press conference. They're going to get who's available, not who they want, to fill gaps. And Barkley might just be a player who meets that criteria.
Dave said he has a pleasure of meeting me before Christmas. Yes, Dave, I did meet you. That was very nice to see you. Hope you had a lovely Christmas and your celebrations for New Year were good. Thanks for your amazing support on the channel since our inception earlier last year. Kenny says new guy Klopp tried to sign him 2 years ago. Well, that's quite promising because Klopp's obviously got a good eye for a player. And Happy New Year. Yes, Happy New Year to you, Will. Hope you had a good celebration last night, whatever you got up to. Dave's asking about the Newcastle game. He's saying, do you think they're bang on with it? They're basically feigning injuries to try and get the game postponed, and they'll have 7 or 8 new players by the time we play. I mean, this was talked about a lot on Twitter. I do think this system with the COVID is being very easily manipulated now into saying, if we don't want to have a game, we've got COVID, we've got injuries. And Dave, do you know what's interesting about this is that the clubs don't have to specify who has COVID. Rafa Benitez didn't actually say who had coronavirus in the Everton squad. So I do think it's being manipulated in some way. No doubt about it.
It's getting a little bit irritating, actually, the fact that they're unwilling to tell you who's injured anymore. And it's all just a mumbo jumbo, because they could at least say this many players are ill. They don't need to say whether it's COVID or just an illness. But, why does it, if a player has the flu, they usually say they're ill or they've got the flu. Why does it make any difference that they've got COVID?
There's definitely something dodgy going on with the Newcastle game. But I think a lot of teams are going to be manipulating the situation. I just think it's a bit of a farce that we were made to play the game away at Chelsea with the players we had available. And then you're telling me that Newcastle couldn't put out 13 players.
I think they changed the rules in the middle of the season, which is not really right in itself. So we had to play that game, but I think that was born out of injuries rather than, I don't know if we had COVID in the camp that day, but we seemed to have a lot of absentees. And then after the Chelsea game, there was apparently a series of new COVID transmissions. So
yeah, it'll be incubating in players that are going to play tomorrow, which is the scary thing about it. And then they'll miss games. Listen, I'm going to move on from that now. There's too much to talk about. Hellgate, yeah, I love it. First to go. I think Holgate's going to be looking to move in January. I think that's the right decision as well. If we can get rid of Hellgate. And Sigurdsson left the club, apparently. What I was told was that was his contract was terminated because he admitted whatever he'd done, he'd admitted, and his contract was ripped up way back in August. So I don't know. I don't know what the financial implications of that were. And on Lewis Dobbin, yeah, it's not promising, is it, Dave, that he hasn't signed the deal? And it seems that our better players, the better young players who look like a real talent, they don't want to stay, and that's really concerning. You'd think he'd have just put the pen to paper on a deal there.
I noticed Thierry Small made the Southampton bench last week, so it's not helping, is it?
Dave, picking up on the point I made about Richarlison, on Mykolenko not speaking any English. I understand this, Dave, but he's a defender and he's got to have communication with his goalkeeper and his other defenders. So I think it's a more important position to be able to speak English. And also, I highly doubt that Rafa Benitez can speak any Ukraine or Russian, is it? I'm not sure. So
it's not exactly a language that is prevalent in our squad, you would say. I mean, you don't know. Maybe some of the players do, but
no one will speak Russian.
I mean, he said it himself, Mykolenko, that one of his first aims is to come in and learn English. He knows the problem that will create.
Oh yeah, it's a definite problem. I think we've gone from looking at South American players and building a real core of Argentinian, Brazilian, and players from South America with mixed with English players to get your core of English and bring in some flair and South American qualities. And we're moving away from that, and we're just picking anyone really now who Rafa fits the bill. I mean, we've been offered Aaron Ramsey. For me, I'd stay well clear, and the Ross Barkley, I think, as well. I'd stay clear. Not that they wouldn't improve us. I just think they don't make a lot of sense at the bigger picture. Will saying if he's at right back, he'd be buzzing. Yeah, I agree. And Sanjiv Hai, he's saying, will he play tomorrow? No, I don't think so. And there's some comments coming in here that I can't understand. I'm really sorry. I don't have translator on me. Yeah, bought in on Klarna. And yes, another comment from Kenny says it took 3 years for Richarlison to learn English. I want to move on to the Brighton game now. Yeah, the kids did better against Chelsea. I know we didn't do reaction for that, but just shows the commitment. But Chelsea could have been 4-0 up within the first 20 minutes, remember? I think we rode our luck. Yeah, Brighton, because there's just so much to talk about. We haven't been here for a while. Don't want to talk about Chelsea in too much detail, but yeah, we did really well to get the point there in the circumstance. Brighton at Hove Albion. So Calvert-Lewin's back for this fixture, and also the positive news, Andre Gomez is available, Ben Godfrey, Michael Keane, Luca Dean, Seamus Coleman, John Joe Kenny, Jordan Pickford, Asmir Begovic, Tom Davis is available as well, Alan, Decore, Damari Gray is available. So the only players out for me, Yerry Mina, Richarlison, Andros Townsend, Fabian Delph, and Cenk Tosun, who is negotiating a move away from the club. Also, Solomon Rondon is fit. So that's the team news. Based on that, David, what sort of team are you going for? I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to pick, but humor me here. Who would you go with, and what formation to test Brighton, who are going to be without Lewis Dunk, their captain, and I think Basuma as well, and Tarek Lamptey picked up injuries in the last fixture, which was a draw at Chelsea.
I haven't seen this information. Where are you getting all this team news information?
I'm telling you it.
No, well, I looked for Everton, so you can't get any names. He just says who's
I'm giving you them based on what I've been told and what I've seen. So
fair enough. Well,
and they're ahead of us in the league as well, Brighton. So I don't know whether you want to show them more respect. They played one more game and they've got 24 points to our 19.
Yeah, I'm not going to say this is an easy game because it isn't at all. But what we've got is, in terms of team selection, a pretty straightforward pick, isn't it? At the back, it's Pickford in goal, it's Coleman, it's Keane, Holgate, and Godfrey. Because Rafa's picking this and Dean's not getting in.
No, yeah.
And then what you've got midfield of Alan Decore. So I think that picks itself. It's the question is what happens after that, because in my case, I kind of threw this together on instinct As Calvert-Lewin comes back in, you've got Anthony Gordon, Iwobi, unfortunately, on one side, and you've got Damari Gray supporting Calvert-Lewin, making runs off him.
What about David? Take that off the screen. What about now? You've got Calvert-Lewin back. You've got Amari Gray in there. Gordon's playing well. The two central midfielders are fit. There's no excuses now not to pick up a win here and not to pick up wins in subsequent fixtures. I think now 3 wins would take you right up back into the mix for the top 6. So it's imperative to pick up something. The comment, Awobi, turn it in, Basil. What about 4-4-2 Rondon and Calvert-Lewin up top? Damari Gray and Gordon on the flanks. Decore and Allen, and then a flat back 4. And if Dean is fit, throw him in there. I know it's unlikely to happen, but do you think that would provide the biggest sort of balance and a nice threat up there, and still providing, a solid core and a solid spine, and also with the defensive-minded Alan and the fullbacks in there, allow Decore to also be like the late runner into the box?
Well, firstly, I do think he'll go with a variation of 4-4-2, so I can't see him playing Andre Gomez in that midfield, just to clear that one up. So it is going to be choices between whether he plays that extra winger or the extra striker. And do you see Rondon playing with Calvert-Lewin? Are they not two sort of target men? How's that?
I don't know. I really liked it in the derby when we had the 2 up front and they were kind of bullying the other defenders, and I just felt that was so close to being quite effective going forward.
Yeah,
except
that was Richarlison.
Defensive liability.
It's slightly different, isn't it, with Richarlison?
Well, I'd say Calvert-Lewin's arguably.
I mean, it depends on the opposition that you're playing against, and in this case, it's a back 3, so it makes a lot of sense to have 2 up front against their 3 rather than leaving 1 isolated. And you've got, the likes of Dan Burn, who's like, he's quite tall, isn't he? He's like 6'5" or something.
Yeah, he's a tall fullback.
You've got Veltman, and they've got some good some strong physical players at the back. So, how do you want to take them on in a sort of attacking sense? They do play a sort of 3/5 at the back, 3-4-3 variation.
I don't know what they're going to play. Really, Brighton, because we don't know the squad situation. Leandro Trossard will be back. He missed the Chelsea game. A couple of comments coming in about Branthwaite. Do you think actually Branthwaite could keep Branthwaite in there alongside Michael Keane? Now that that's been put in the mix, I'm thinking, I'd have him there ahead of Holgate for sure. I thought Holgate was shite against Chelsea, and he's an accident waiting to happen, and he's an arrogant twat, and he should be bombed out the club immediately. That's a bit harsh. But Branthwaite, keep Branthwaite in there alongside Michael Keane.
I'm not objecting that at all. I'm just thinking the way Brighton play, they play kind of between the lines. They play these lots of possession football. They've got quite small technical players. Does someone like Holgate, who's a bit more agile, is able to keep up with them than Branthwaite, who's better with Keane at defending balls into the box?
Well, that's why we should have... Holgate and Keane did well at the reverse fixture in Brighton at the Amex Stadium.
They did very well. I think that was one of our better performances this season.
So maybe we'll see a repeat of that. And I think we'll keep the same sort of 4-4-2. I think it'll be Rondon and Calvert-Lewin with the 2 wingers, the 2 central midfielders. It's a very predictable team. However, it would be nice to see Branthwaite, I suppose, against Holgate, because I think Branthwaite's got more of a future at the club than Holgate. Maybe a switch to a 4-3-3 with Andre Gomez in there, just to get a bit of control and play a bit of better football. Get the ball up into positions where Damari Gray can really hurt them. Get down the line and cross it into Calvert-Lewin, which is ultimately what this Everton side needs to be doing, is getting it out wide, crossing it into Calvert-Lewin. I don't think we've got much else. We haven't really got a goal threat from, shooting outside the box or anything like that. I think Decore's good running in late and, it can offer a bit of a threat, but I think it's all going to come down to wing play, isn't it, Dave? And finding Damari Gray, finding Anthony Gordon in those positions and supplying Calvert-Lewin, and Rondon scoring against, can't remember who scored against. Was it Crystal Palace? Scored a late goal or something, but did score. And I think maybe if it's a 4-4-2 and he's maybe give him another chance.
I think one of the issues is that Calvert-Lewin looks like he won't be able to play 90 minutes. So if he doesn't doesn't have Rondon on the bench, who's going to come on for Calvert-Lewin? Is it going to be Sims or Dobbin?
That's a good point. maybe then in that case you just start Calvert-Lewin and take him off after 70 minutes, and you need to have Rondon there off the bench.
especially we're a
It's an
goal
interesting
down.
one. There are options. I think that is the main thing, and obviously you got to trust Rafa Benitez to make the right decision with these players. I've got a
What?
comment from Jonathan who's saying, "Hi, Jonathan." He's saying Branthwaite and Godfrey maybe partnership. What do you think? A little bit of pace at the back, and you've got the youth of Branthwaite who did
Yeah,
nothing
that
wrong against
I mean
Chelsea.
that could work, but this is a totally different proposition to the Chelsea game where we're under the cosh playing away from home with half a depleted squad.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks, Jonathan. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
what
We need to
would
play
he
on the
play
front
Dean?
foot.
Would he play Dean then at left back?
Yeah, Jonathan, would you play Luca Dean in that formation? Dave, can I ask? It's time to go and start attacking teams and playing on the front foot, more possession based football. Still, obviously incorporating the long ball and the crossing, but trying to control games rather than just tipping up and playing counter attacking football. We're at Goodison, and I don't think I'm going to be honest with you. Rafa Benitez is going to get. I know we got a result against Arsenal and a reasonable result at Chelsea, but you're telling me now, if we lose to Brighton and we lose these other three fixtures, which look really poor on paper, it's going to be really, really difficult for him, isn't it? He's got to start winning some games. We're 15th in the league.
Yeah, I mean this is a difficult one, but
And we've not played since the 16th of December.
I know you're saying that we should be sort of getting some possession in these games, but it's just not the way that he looks to play, or certainly doesn't think we can play with these players. And if you look,
Man City have played 21 games and we played 17.
I know we're 4 games, but it's lucky that they're in the second half of the season, which he keeps saying is going to be much better than the first half. So, we're still technically like in the first half for us, so he might write this off already. But
no, I'm looking at it.
That
Sorry, go on.
Brighton played against Chelsea. I know you don't want to talk about Chelsea, but they did play against Chelsea in their last match, and so did we. And they actually had more possession than Chelsea in that game, and I saw quite a lot of that game. And Brighton looked the real team, and they'll give us a real go if they come.
They're good.
If they come to Goodison and play like they did at Chelsea, we will not win that game. I'll tell you that now. And we won't have the ball for most of it either. But you're saying they've got injuries out. I mean, Basuma ran that midfield against Chelsea, picks up the ball, he drives into space, he creates opportunities. They've got technical players around the box and they pass it quick and between the gaps. They look a threat. What they lack is the finisher. In you saying Trossard back in, which is a big player for them up front.
They had Welbeck, didn't they? I think they need a player like Junk Tosin maybe to go in on a reasonable fee, 5 6 million. The Brighton, when I've watched them, I thought, yeah, they play proper football. You're right, David. They're 10th in the league, and I think that's a good achievement for them. If they finish in the top half of the table, I think that's outstanding, really, given the budget they've had. And the manager would have been someone I would have looked at more progressively than has been Benitez. So
what they lack is often consistent. I say they lack consistency, but actually I think they've drawn 10 games out of their last 13. So they're consistently drawing matches. They're consistently scoring and conceding. So they are consistent, but they have patches where they seem to look like world beaters for a few games, and then they just struggle to pick up wins for quite a while. So you just don't know what you're going to get from them either, really.
Well, I hope that Basuma isn't available. I hope that Lamberty isn't available because I think they're two of their key players. Neil Mope. I mean, on paper they're not. I don't feel threatened too much about them. I know they're a good team, but this is Everton and we're at Goodison Park and we haven't played in over 2 weeks. It's time to start now asserting some authority on the game, trying to control the game. And what I want to see from Everton is aggressive, dynamic football. I don't want to see us give away sloppy mistakes. I don't want to. I want to see us be strong on set pieces, cut the individual errors out, and start getting back to what made us good at the start of the season, which was winning the second balls, crossing it well, finding a space, and really supplying Calvert-Lewin. I think Calvert-Lewin's going to go on a run of goals. I do think he's going to want to hit the ground running. Harry Kane hasn't played well, and that England spot is up for grabs. So there's your motivation. I also want to say, well done. I know Man City played 21 games, but I'm pleased they won again today in the last minute because I think hopefully Chelsea can do a job on Liverpool tomorrow and get that title race, done and dusted.
It's looking
That's
good
one
for the
thing that's
City,
been
isn't
going
it?
in the back of our minds, isn't it? Really, that we've been shite and the Liverpool have been so strong. But we got to start thinking about ourselves and how we can pick up some results. John saying, will Mykolenko be available to play? We don't know, to be honest with you, because of his. David actually said before, no, he's not going to be available. There's a law. That says he can't play. And Terry said he's excited to see Mykolenko and wishing a happy new year. Are you excited for the game tomorrow, 2:00? You're picking me up, aren't you? Are you excited to watch Everton at Goodison Park in 2022? It's a fresh start. Let's hope we don't lose at the
I'm
first
excited
hurdle.
to see a game because for weeks I've been waiting, for Everton to play, and coming off the back of that sort of spirited performance at Chelsea, we've had a 3-week break, haven't we? And I think a lot of people wanted that Newcastle game to be on, with it being a festive fixture and people are off. And now it's the fixtures are being moved around. You've got Leicester game put on a Tuesday night now, in the middle of nowhere, when you're preparing to do other things. And so it is an irritation there, these fixtures, and it is good to be getting back to Goodison.
Yeah, I'm a bit peed off they put that Leicester game on a Tuesday. And it's Dad's birthday as well, so we won't be going.
Yeah.
But it's infuriating that they can do that at a drop of a hat with, sort of 10 days notice. But they don't care as long as they get their money. So can I get your prediction for tomorrow?
My prediction is 1-1. And the reason for that is something we haven't really picked up on, is that we haven't played for 3 weeks. And I think you see it with the teams that have had the 2 or 3 week break. They look worse than the other teams who are playing every 3 days. I mean, look at Leicester. They've depleted squad. They played 2 days after their last fixture and they beat Liverpool. And I think United came back after having 2 weeks off and they really struggled at Newcastle. And Newcastle were all over them in terms of energy. And they got, they only got out with a point. So as much as I do feel like we could win this game if we were coming into this off the back of fitness, being strong physically, mentally, I think with it being a completely new fixture, I think we might struggle to get over the line, but let's just see how it starts off the game.
I think we need to start quickly, and I think if we start sluggish and start slow and inevitably Brighton getting the goal, because we go behind in every game, it doesn't matter whether we win or lose or draw, we concede first in every game. Don't know why people aren't betting on that.
I can really see that happening.
Quick.
I can really see a really slow start. I mean, we do tend to have a bad first half, and I can see that happening and just going a goal down. And it's whether we fight back in the first half and get it back to 1-1 and kick on and use the crowd. That's how I see the pattern of the game happening. Or do we come out in the second half and look worse than we did in the first half, which has also happened on some games this season?
I know people be watching this and thinking, follow Everton, negative. But we're being realistic here because we've seen Everton this season, and the pattern is that Everton go behind, that Everton start slow, that Everton don't look effective on the break. They are weak at set pieces and they make a lot of individual errors. And when you combine those together, that's a recipe for disaster. Now, I'm actually going to, just for the sake of this, Calvert-Lewin's back. I think that's going to lift the crowd. Richarlison's a couple of weeks away. Thankfully, we haven't played in those games that we might have needed that little difference of a Richarlison and Damari Gray who wasn't available. So it's probably a blessing in disguise that we hadn't had them. But with the Calvert-Lewin in this game, with Gray fit, with the solid midfield, obviously Townsend not available, Richarlison not available, Yerry Mina, you think all three of them would be in. But I think you're close to a strong enough team to say we should turn up and beat Brighton. It's going to come down to the selection and whether Rafa's naive or not, and whether he sets us up properly. And also how drunk and hungover everyone is, because it's New Year. And I think traditionally we're not that good on New Year's Day either. Start well, start quickly, cut out the mistakes, strong on set pieces, try and play on the front foot as much as we can. Supply Calvert-Lewin, and I think we'll be okay. I think Brighton will score first and we'll win 2-1. I'm looking at some of the other comments. Terry saying 3-1 for Everton. I think we'll bounce back. Dave Weston's got a 3-1 as well. I think they're sensible score lines. Jonathan saying 2-0 Everton. Hopefully with DCL, we can bounce back. That sounds good. Bear with me 1 second. Have we got any others? I'm looking forward to seeing a decent starting 11 for once. Yeah. Define that. I mean, we were quite close to full strength before the Chelsea game, but obviously things went wrong. Dave, have you got any other things you want to say? Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
Do the kids get a bit more of a sniff?
They would have done if we'd played after that Chelsea game, but now it's
Now
had
you
2
think
weeks to settle, and a lot of the players are back, so I just can't see it happening.
You'd like to see Branthwaite and potentially Dobbin off the bench, though.
I like them as players, yeah. No, I wouldn't mind seeing them play, but I just don't think it'll happen. You know, maybe Dobbin or Sims will get 20 minutes or something. But
Yeah, I think Sims is a bit
you
behind
just never know, because
off the
you know
pace.
if he's not going to use Luka Dean, we're only one injury away in the back line for having Branthwaite in anyway, and we don't know who's available really. Someone might have COVID.
Clueless definitely shouldn't be selling or leaving us short again. Okay, we're going to wrap things up now. Wishing you all happy new year. Thanks for watching Follow Everton. This year, hopefully, we'll reach 500 subscribers. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Ask your friends to, ask your family to, ask your dog to. Hit the subscribe button. Help us get up to 500. We think we deserve more subscribers in this channel. Took a lot of sense. Try and be pragmatic about things and see things from both sides, which I think a lot of our viewers appreciate. Certainly when we're talking about the signing of Mykolenko, we can see both the pros and the cons. We're not coming out here with these outlandish comments. I've seen a lot of people kicking off and a lot of people getting very, really excited on social media. And I think it's one of those things where you got to look really balanced about it. Against Brighton, Brighton's going to be a difficult game. We beat them 2-0 earlier in the season, I think, or 2-1. So I'm confident we can do them again. With Calvert-Lewin returning, with the crowd chomping at the bit to watch some football. Don't forget, get tested before you go tomorrow. Don't go and infect people with a virus that you don't know whether you've got. If you haven't, I think about half a dozen people who've got COVID at the moment. You're probably going to come back with COVID. They're going to do spot checks, I believe, on your NHS pass as well. So bear that in mind. If they ask you, make sure you got that to hand. Don't risk getting booted out. Did you do your declaration, Dave?
Yeah, declaration.
I declare I have had 2 jabs or 3 jabs.
Well, isn't that the whole point of bringing a COVID pass? They're going to check that anyway.
Yeah, they do spot checks, but yeah, I think you should just submit
I
it.
thought the government said that everyone has to have a check.
So should just be able to submit your COVID pass before the game and have it on file.
Yeah, you should be able, that would be better. But then they've got to ID you as you come in to check who said you are.
If there's any other questions or anything you want to talk about, put it in the comments now very quickly. Dave's asking, can you get him with genital warts? I'm not sure they check you, but I would just advise being careful in the men's toilets or the women's toilets. Andrew Ford says, are we getting the Diamond back on loan? I think that's agents pushing the player. And the same with Aaron Ramsey being pushed to Everton, Barkley being pushed to Everton, Coutinho being pushed to Everton because Barca want rid and they know we're mugs and he's friends with Rafa Benitez. Can I see it happening, Barkley? Yes, because I don't think Rafa actually gives a shit what people think about the emotional side of anything, really. So if he wants him, he'll get him. And he's not really got a future at Chelsea. We could probably do with another midfielder. Let me know in the comments, would you have Ross Barkley back? I think that's going to be really split. Basil, I'll see you tomorrow. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you potentially Sunday afternoon after Everton beat Brighton and Hove Albion 2-1 at Goodison Park, or kicking off outside the ground because we've lost 1-0 from a set piece where the ball comes off Michael Keane's elbow and off Dave Weston and his genital warts. Terry would have Barkley and Andrew. Yeah, Happy New Year, Andrew. See you soon.
Mm-hmm.